Hey guys, today we play around with Navigate on Autopilot. Alright, good morning everyone. So, I've got the car set on Navigate on Autopilot, and I'm on the expressway here. Now, you are supposed to keep one hand on the wheel at all times. I'm going to be taking my hands off the wheel periodically in this video, and only because I want to demonstrate the fact that the car will do these things on its own. And now when you have your hand on the wheel, it's hard to tell, are you making the car do it, or is it really handling things on its own? So you'll notice that in normal autopilot, which, let's see here, I'll turn off Navigate on Autopilot, there are two blue lines here at the sides of the lane. When you turn on Navigate on Autopilot, they merge into one. Normally, when you put the car into autopilot, you see how you've got the two blue lines there at either side of the lane. Now, going on to Navigate on Autopilot, let's see here. When you hit Navigate on Autopilot, watch the lines. They converge to one line up the center. That lets you know that not only are you in autopilot, but you're in Navigate on Autopilot. You see here it says confirm lane change to follow route. One simple tap on the turn signal and the car changes lanes on its own. I'm not touching anything, and the turn signal turns off on its own. Now, a lot of this is similar to normal autopilot, except for the fact that the car will advise you when it's best to change lanes. And so let's see here. One other thing is, in standard autopilot mode, in order to change lanes, you would need to click the turn signal hard to give it all the way firm. You know, 2 clicks all the way to the right to change to the right, 2 clicks to change to the left. But with this, one simple click and one tap of the turn signal, and it will change lanes. So just a little bit more convenient to use. But I like the fact that the car knows what's fastest. There's times that it will say, you know, confirm lane change, and it'll give you a gray line of where it wants to go. The car will recommend changing lanes, and if it will be faster to get to your destination, or if it's required to make it to your destination, then it will recommend changing lanes. Also, it will take off ramps and merge onto the next expressway for you. So Navigate on Autopilot is really a good feature. It's something that I love, and I use it pretty much daily. Now, again, you're supposed to keep your one hand on the wheel, and generally I just drive like this. It's become habit. But for the sake of this video, I want to make sure that I'm ready to grab the wheel. I'm looking forward and paying attention, but I keep my hands off the wheel just to prove to you guys that don't have a Tesla, that may not really believe that autopilot works as well as it does, that indeed it works as well as it does. So I'm going to go ahead and change lanes here just for grins, just to show you how it works. So the car swings, the line swings to the other lane, it makes the lane change and shuts off the turn signal for you. And I'll be changing lanes back again here in a minute, but we've got cars coming up. Now you can see on this latest software update, it sees the cars even slightly behind me. There are times that the car will tell you that it's best to change lanes to speed things up. There's other times the car will tell you that you need to change lanes in order to continue on your plotted route to your destination. So it's kind of interesting how the car responds to the traffic around you and what it recommends from you. And so you can see that in 1.8 miles, I'm going to be turning right. So the car is not recommending I go in the left lane to get around traffic, even though it's faster, because it knows that in a brief period of time, I'm going to be exiting this road anyway. So it says upcoming lane change, and see what's happening here. Now watch. It will advise that that I change lanes here shortly. confirm lane change to follow route. One quick click of the turn signal, and it looks to make sure there's no cars, and it moves the blue line over and changes lanes. It turns off the turn signal for you, and now we've got 1.1 miles left before our next turn there, and we will be making an exit. So you'll see the car exit on its own. So now you see that it shows there's 4 moving lanes and that I need to be in the rightmost lane. There's 3 gray arrows and 1 black arrow. That means of the 4 lanes, I need to be in the rightmost lane. Now I'm not going to touch anything here. The car will turn on the turn signal on its own, and then it will change lanes on its own. It won't even ask if for me to confirm. It will just do it. Now you see how that's turning? I'm not touching anything. And so there we go. Now it was just a touch confused there, and it asked me to confirm things. Now it just turned off navigate on autopilot on its own, but it is still in normal autopilot. So we are on the off ramp here. Now the difference between navigate on autopilot and normal autopilot is in normal autopilot, the car will just follow a given trajectory and that's it. If you want to change lanes, you click all the way down on the stalk and it will change lanes, and it will cancel the turn signal for you. With navigate on autopilot, the car will recommend changing lanes, and if it will be faster to get to your destination, or if it's required to make it to your destination, then it will recommend changing lanes. Also, it will take off ramps and merge onto the next expressway for you. So navigate on autopilot is really a good feature. It's something that I love, and I use it pretty much daily. Now again, you're supposed to keep your one hand on the wheel, and generally I just drive like this. It's become habit, but for the sake of this video, I want to make sure that I'm ready to grab the wheel. I'm looking forward and paying attention, but I keep my hands off the wheel just to prove to you guys that don't have a Tesla, that may not really believe that autopilot works as well as it does, that indeed it works as well as it does. So I'm going to go ahead and change lanes here just for grins, just to show you how it works. So the car swings to the other lane. It makes the lane change and shuts off the turn signal for you. And I'll be changing lanes back again here in a minute, but we've got cars coming up. Now you can see on this latest software update, it sees the cars even slightly behind me. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my left signal back on, and it swings the line over, changes lanes for me, and the turn signal turns off. It adjusts speed to merge properly with traffic, and just basically handles everything, takes the load off of you as a driver. So now we have traveled a lot from state to state with this car, and I got to tell you, it is a very relaxing experience to have autopilot on a car, and the navigate on autopilot feature increases that usability. Now it says here, confirm lane change into faster lane. So I just tap the turn signal once, it moves the navigate line over, it changes lanes, and now I'm in a lane that it recommended that I be in, not because I need to be there to make my route, but because this lane is moving faster and it knows that. But I do need to get into the right in a few miles, so I'm going to go ahead and tell it to switch back now that we're around that slower car, and it changes lanes and turns the signal off on its own. And again, you can see the position of all the cars on the road. You can also see that it knows that is a car, this is an SUV, the car ahead of me is an SUV. It is very good at knowing what it's looking at. It knows if there's a pedestrian, such as if I'm backing in my driveway and my son is working on his bicycle in the driveway or something, it will actually show me that there's a person there. It is kind of funny what it interprets, though. On occasion, I'll back into the driveway and it'll think the garbage can up against my garage door is a person, and it'll show a pedestrian standing there on the screen. It's kind of cool. So my guess is it's going to tell me to switch lanes to the left lane to gain some traveling speed here, would be my guess. Is it going to tell me to do that? No, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm going to get around the slower traffic here. So, and you can also see that it shows that there's 2 lanes to the right side. Now there's 3 lanes because there's a turn lane there, and that there are no lanes to the left. To the left of me is the concrete barrier, and so kind of cool. Let's see here. It's telling me to apply light force to the steering wheel. You see that blue flashing? That's because it wants to know that I'm still alive and that I'm paying attention. So let's switch back into the other lane here, because again, we are eventually in 4.5 miles going to need to take an off-ramp to the right. Also, one other thing to point out, it's very foggy today. One nice thing about Autopilot is that the car will pay attention to things going on the road ahead of you much better when you're in Autopilot, or it will intervene more in your travel. A white Model 3 just went by in the other lane, but it will intervene in your travel much more readily in Autopilot than when you have it off. So if you do happen to maybe not be paying much attention, which you should be paying attention, but if you happen to not be paying much attention, then the car really has your back better in Autopilot than if you're just driving. The car does have anti-collision features in it, but when you have Autopilot activated, it's nice because the car is more actively going, all right, I got to make sure I hit the brakes, this guy's trusting me. And so it really deals with things better, such as if somebody pulls in front of you, it will hit the brakes more readily than if you don't have Autopilot on. It's just, it is a wonderful feature in that respect. And the every software update improves Autopilot a little bit more and a little bit more. So now the nagging you to grab the wheel, that is something that it does more frequently, but you're supposed to have your hand on the wheel anyway. So it's saying confirm lane change into faster lane. So I'm going to go ahead and accept that because I'm going to be turning right in 1.8 miles anyway. So 1 mile, which is roughly a minute, we'll be turning right on Easterfield Road. For those of you that are locals, I'm heading on my way to Elk Grove Village, Illinois, to a client's property. So it will shortly here change lanes on its own. It will activate the turn signal and it will switch lanes all by itself here. You can see it shows there's 5 lanes. I need to be in one of the 2 right lanes, which I am. 0.3 miles, so I expect the turn signal to turn on any second here. So it turned the signal on its own, and now it is taking the off-ramp. Now it will turn off navigate on Autopilot. There we go. Now it's in standard Autopilot, and so I'm going to need to take over because there's a left turn coming up here at the light. So I'm taking over, and but it is wonderful that it will take these off-ramps for you. It really is a nice feature of the car, and something that I really, personally, I believe that standard Autopilot should have been doing from day one. But so I'll turn it back in Autopilot. The cars ahead of me are stopped, and so it is again, we've got 2 blue lines instead of the single blue line because I'm not on navigate on Autopilot. Even though it's activated, I'm not on the expressway. I'm just in bumper-to-bumper traffic. The cars ahead of me, I'm not touching anything. The car will start easing forward on its own. So really great. I can't say enough good about Autopilot, and the navigate on Autopilot is awesome. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. For those of you that have not yet subscribed, go ahead and do so. I'm trying for 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Also, if you're considering buying a Tesla, use my referral code. There'll be a link in the description below. You'll get some free supercharging, and it helps myself out, helps out the channel. So thanks a lot, guys. Have yourselves a great day. I'm going to do my best to upload a video possibly as often as every day throughout this month. but at least 3 or 4 a week for sure. So take it easy, guys. Bye-bye now.